So let's just go back to the basics and
Yep.
let's talk about planning for your online event.
Yes, which is really, really important because, fail to plan and plan to fail, as we all know. I think the biggest thing here is to really think about your end goal as someone delving into these online events, or even taking a step back after running these events for so long and just refreshing your goal, making sure your strategy is right and you're on the same page as where you were originally looking to go. Are you doing this for lead generation? Are you doing this for education or professional development? What sort of call to actions are you providing people at the end, and are they actually working or not? So we're going to go into the 3 stages now, and obviously before, which is pre-production, which is important. Topic, time and presenter, to be honest, is a lot harder than people think because they all need to be aligned. Now, we worked with an organisation a few years back, and they started to run a series, and they had amazing topics, amazing presenters, a lot of them coming from the US, so subject matter experts, but none of the content was aligned. So they had record numbers of people registering for this event, and then afterwards they couldn't understand why they were getting such negative feedback. They had an open-ended box saying, people, how did you find the webinar? That's all they had. Then what we decided to do was reshuffle the survey and find out, how applicable, how relevant was this content? Was it what you expected? And then we found out that what people were registering for and what the presenter was saying were 2 totally different things. So as an online audience, 10 minutes, okay, see you later. I've had enough. This person's not getting into it. So choosing your topic, your time and your presenter is important, but making sure they're all aligned is even more important in the pre-production phase.
So on topics, what exactly are people interested in? What should we be talking about these days?
Anything, I think, is the easy answer. But I personally love research. So if a study does come out, industry research or something like that, for me to sit there and read maybe 40 pages of research, even if there are pretty little graphs and stuff, I still am a visual person. So I would much rather take part in a research study maybe, receive the results, as well as an invitation to join an online event that's going to run for half an hour, where the organisation is going to discuss key takeaways. That is value, and that's providing people with something different that not everyone does. And then you're targeting so many different types of people. Then you've also got that on-demand recording afterwards that you can constantly use. Another thing is also, educational content. People want education. I think the one thing to remember is with these online events, use anything that you want as a topic, but really, really, number one advice, do not sell. Do not try and sell anything. So keep in mind what your end goal is, but try not to push it too much within the event because it's just going to turn people off. And I think on these events, you only get one chance because it's a lot easier for someone to close their browser than to get up and walk out of a room in a live event. People aren't shy to close down the browser and then move on to something else.
Absolutely.
Email marketing as well, making sure that's all done in advance. So making sure you've got your invitations, your registration pages created, and then also your autoresponders and everything like that. Hopefully it will be set up all automatically so you won't have to do too much while you're trying to organise everything else. And your branded registration pages are really important. Try keeping fields to a minimum, but then also try finding out what people want. And I think one of the best ways to align your presenter with your content and your audience is to ask people why they're joining. So for this event today in particular, we actually send an invitation out in the field. We ask basic details, but then there's also a section which says, what are you hoping to join from today's event? So that information is then passed on to the presenter, which is myself, to make sure that my content is tailored to you. Because if I have no idea what you want, it's not as easy for you to put up your hand and me to answer you as what it would be in a live environment. Payment gateways, think of that. So if you're going to charge for your online events, how will you incorporate that? How will you charge for pricing? I think pricing strategy is really important, especially because a lot of webinars and webcasts these days aren't charged for. People tend to really charge for your hybrid events, so your live conferences if they can't attend. And when you're talking about things like that, don't be too afraid to charge the same as what you would for a live event, because if you're holding an annual conference and you have 10 sessions throughout the day and you're actually streaming that all online, the people who are joining online don't have to pay for travel. They don't have to pay for accommodation. They don't have to pay for food. So it can even be more convenient for them to attend online. And then you're also giving those people access to that on-demand content afterwards, and you're giving those people in the room access to the on-demand content. So when you're marketing these types of events, these live conferences or keynote sessions, you can actually say to people who register, you know, as an added benefit, come live on the day, you know, enjoy the conference as you normally would. Plus, we're also giving you the ability to watch this or pass on to your colleagues once the event is over. That's priceless. And then, you know, scheduling your presenter training. I know you're quite experienced with this. Michelle runs a lot of our online events, so she works with a lot of presenters, and I think you'd agree that scheduling presenter training closer to the date is more important.
Definitely way more beneficial.
Yeah, it just keeps it fresh in someone's mind as well. And then finalising your location and your technology. And I'll tell you a little story. A few years back, we had this presenter who was quite familiar with webinars. He presented on a regular basis. And so he's presenting as he normally would, using the telephone because that was the most safe option as he was in an area with poor internet. And he was using a cordless phone and the battery died. So what are the chances with that? And it's just technology. And when you're working with technology, stuff is going to happen.
Yeah,
and it's just
absolutely.
about how you deal with it. It's about your plan Bs. It's about looking to your webinar provider and finding out what their redundancies are, especially in these big hybrid events. If you're running a hybrid event, you want your provider to liaise with the hotel and to work out all that. You don't want to deal with the technology. You just want to focus on the content, focus on making sure the people who are joining are really satisfied at the end of the day. So yeah, really think about that, and really think about the fact that any of this stuff that's not done correctly in the pre-production phase may or may not it's going to change, to be honest. Every event you run is going to be different. But if you like, I encourage you to take a look in the resource tab, and there's the presenter handbook down there that we've put together. And that's a good idea for you to just take a look at, forward onto your presenters moving forward, because it tells them little things like not embedding video in a PowerPoint or using fonts that are readable and things that presenters don't really think about a lot of the time. So definitely take a look at that, and then make sure you take all this stuff into consideration and work on a checklist before you move into this sort of thing.